So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Michael Smith, Special Assistant to President Obama and the leader with the My Brother's Keeper initiative. Michael, say hello and please welcome.
Hey, thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. It's a real honor to be virtually here with you today. I wish I were there with you in person. It's wonderful to see gatherings like this, and you're not alone. Gatherings like this are happening all over the country. There's a real excitement. There's a real energy. There's a real movement that's taking place around My Brother's Keeper, making sure that young people like those that I can see in the room can achieve their dreams. And if you hear President Obama talk about why that is so important, he would say, one, we have to make sure that America understands it has a moral obligation, that we remain a country where if you work hard and play by the rules, we have a responsibility to help you succeed, because we realize that when our neighbors' kids succeed, we succeed as well. And so we have to keep realizing that there's this moral obligation. The other thing the president would say, quite frankly, though, is sometimes no matter how hard you work, no matter what rules you play by, there are barriers, there are obstacles to success. And we have to confront them. We have to be honest about them, about bias, about inequities, about disparities. And we all who have the power to do something about it have to obliterate those barriers every opportunity we get. The third thing the president would say is, this isn't only about a moral obligation, but it's about an economic imperative. America cannot remain globally competitive if we continue to write off a whole generation of young people, if we continue to look at that kid and say, that's not my problem. You all know that this society is based on production and consumption. And we need boys and young men of color producing at the high rates. We need the next Steve Jobs. We need the next Alexander McQueens. We need folks that are producing the next innovations, the next brilliance and arts and technology and entrepreneurship. And we also need boys and young men of color and their peers consuming at high rates, not $8 an hour jobs, but 15, 20, 25, 30 and higher an hour jobs, and making sure that they're consuming at the highest levels. The President's Council on Economic Advisors actually put out a report over the summer that really outlined the challenge that we're facing. And one of the data points they found was if you were a black boy born 25 years ago, you have a 1 in 2 chance of being employed today, a 1 in 2 chance. And the reason that is early death, incarceration, or other inequities in the employment or education field. The other thing that report found, however, is if we could close the employment gap between young men of color and their peers, we could increase GDP by 2%. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars into the economy. So this isn't just something that's about tugging the heartstrings. It's about the purse strings of America. And we're seeing just great, incredible work. Here in Washington, we have the My Brother's Keeper Federal Task Force, where every single member of the cabinet that has anything to do with domestic policy has given recommendations to the president and is actively working on closing opportunity gaps. We just launched Second Chance Pell Program to encourage partnerships between prisons and universities so that folks that are incarcerated can get their education and return to society as productive members of society. We just launched a chronic absenteeism campaign where we're trying to reduce chronic absenteeism by 10%. We saw a $100 million grant from the Department of Labor around American apprenticeship and really trying to kickstart that. And you'll hear from Rock Dillard from Department of Defense and all the great work they're doing as a part of the My Brother's Keeper Task Force as well. There are also now almost 240 My Brother's Keeper communities in 48 states, 20 tribal nations, and D.C., all across the country that are developing cradle to college and career strategies to make sure that young people have every opportunity to succeed. And lastly, we've seen the business community, like all of you, step up in a major way because you get the economic imperative. And we've seen over $500 million in aligned investment around My Brother's Keeper on a range of issues. $100 million with equal opportunity schools to get more low-income and minority students and advanced placement and IB courses. We've seen $200 million from philanthropy, a new nonprofit launch called the My Brother's Keeper Alliance that will support the work of communities. And so there's a real excitement, and we just want to say how grateful we are I know that I speak for the entire team here in Washington when I say how grateful we are for those of you that are in the room that have stepped up, and how proud we are of the young men in the room who are owning the challenges and opportunities and paving the way to a brilliant future. I'll close with just a final comment, a quote from the president. We were in the Bronx, New York back in May launching this My Brother's Keeper Alliance. And before the president gave his remarks, he met with a group of young people. And he always asked young people, what is it that I can do? What is it that you need from me? And the young people went around the room, and some said, we need more jobs, we need more scholarships, we need summer programs. And then one young man said, you know, Mr. President, this might sound corny, but what about love? And he went on to share the story of how his father was not active in his life, and how he needed love and attention and support from his community and family. And so when the president went to give his remarks, he changed off the cuff the bottom of his speech, and he spoke directly to the young people in the room and said several things, but one that has always stuck with me is that he said, there's nothing, not a single thing that's more important to the future of America than whether or not you and young people all across the country like you can achieve their dreams. Nothing more important to the future of America than whether or not young people like those sitting in the room today can achieve their dreams. And that's what My Brother's Keeper is about. It's about this responsibility, us all locking arms together and making sure that you have every opportunity to achieve, because we need you to. So thank you again for all you do, and thank you for allowing me to have an opportunity to speak with you today.
Michael, I want to say thank you very much from everybody here in the room.